Force, it's Game Flunky, and today we're going to be talking about Tyranny, a CRPG adventure game, which is heavily story-based, mind you, created by the minds of Obsidian Entertainment and published by Paradox Interactive. We'll get into it a little bit, talk about what it's about, give you an idea, a brief synopsis, and hopefully you enjoy the video, and please like and subscribe, and share with your friends. Without further ado, let's get into it. When we're talking about Tyranny, let's talk about Obsidian Entertainment. These guys have already created a game called Pillars of Eternity, which was kickstarted and funded by 44,000 backers. I won't forget that because it's like you see that all over the place. But for good reasons. It was a smash hit. It was a CRPG, kind of like Baldur's Gate, and I think Icedale, those kind of games back in the day when we were kids. Obsidian Entertainment makes their games on that format and that genre. With Pillars of Eternity, they did a great job. In Pillars of Eternity, they had a great, heavily story-based system where your actions and the way you interact with people overall affected the gameplay and how people would interact with you. So that was a big thing, which we will discuss further into the story. Along with having this plethora and multitude of a skill system that can work in different ways, can affect your interaction with the environment, along with stats and skills that can further impact that environment as well. With Tyranny, though, where they went a little bit above and beyond as before, they're giving you more of a creative purposes with your character. Now, with the more fleshed out graphics and aesthetic appeal, the game looks 10 times better than Pillars of Eternity. But the graphics itself isn't what really is the big sell of Pillars of Eternity, or Tyranny itself, is that storyline and the ability to create your own custom story, kind of like Mass Effect and Dragon Age Inquisition. If you ever heard of the Genesis expansion for Mass Effect, it let you choose the story and how it changed in Mass Effect 1 to affect Mass Effect 2. The same thing between Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3. The expansion allowed players to choose how each game's story went so they can affect the next game's outcome. That way you don't have to replay Mass Effect 2 and 1. In this case, generally the same thing, which we'll get into that in a bit. The one cool thing about this, though, as I said before, the customization has went above and beyond than before. Where before you could only change the hair and somewhat the look of the face, this time you change the color skin, the body height. You got, well, it looks better too, but facial hair, you got top head hair. Top head hair, that's how I talk about my hair. I don't say the top of my head, I say top head hair. That's just horrible. Anyway, as you see me here, I'm just fiddling around with different things. One of the other things, too, is I noticed with this game as well, and I'll skip to that in about 2 seconds, is like before with Pillars of Eternity, you could choose your character's history. Well, how that works is how the world will interact with you. So in Pillars of Eternity, if you were a slave, a worker, there was a different thing, but it would affect how your interaction pretty much through the story, how people would treat you. If you're from a certain island or if you're part of a certain race, maybe people will be more appreciative of you or more understanding of you, or some might be racist and not like you. It would affect and impact your interaction with the environment and the world around you. Just like that, Tyranny has that same kind of system. If you look, and I'm not going to read all of it because there's a lot of words in this game, a lot of context, but basically it tells you the backstory of each of these parts of history that you could ultimately come from and how the world would react to that part of history. It could actually make people more liking towards you, make you more easier to persuade them to do things of that nature. Next up is the primary expertise, is your combat style. Basically, it's saying, are you going to fight with sword and shield, are you going to fight like a monk, are you going to use magic, are you going to fight with a bow, whatever. Basically, it's just giving you a general outlook of a class that you want to pick. Now, you can pick two, a primary and a secondary. I went with a two-handed mace for my secondary, which really do me no good. Basically, what they'll show you is what stats are important, what styles of attacks it's going to use, and what the stats mean. Because if you click the orange icon, the little letters that you see, the words I mean, that'll actually give you a more detailed description of what those words mean, like deflection, puncturing, bludgeon, things of that nature, which we will, again, get further into the game. We'll talk about that. Like I said, second expertise, which is what I'm choosing right here. That really isn't really a big fundamental. Only thing you got to be aware of when you clicking your class and picking a class is to be aware like how it works and how it functions. You can break your class because once you pick certain skills, even though they have a skill tree in this game, be aware that you're stuck with that skill. So when you make that commitment of picking that skill as your ability or your power, you are stuck with it. Another thing too is, which Pillars of Eternity had, was the ability to change the color of your armor. So now here we are. Choose your name. I choose Cecil. Don't judge me. I like the name Cecil. Shut up, bitches. No, but anyway, here are your attributes. Pretty much plain and simple. The little orange or the gold, silver, and silver points icons you see next to the words just pretty much means the classes that I have picked, what attributes are most affected or most affect that class. So if you like me, I pick Sword and Shield and Heavy Mace. So I've got Might, Finesse, and Resolve as my 3 main stats that will affect those classes the most. Do I recommend going into other stats? Not really if you're not familiar with the game. Like I said with the Divinity Original Sin 2, if you don't know how to build your class, don't screw with it. Just go with the meta and just stick with it. Alright, this is also his weapon skills and support skills. These are pretty much going further in. I basically stopped with what the game recommended. I wasn't trying to go too far from it. Things like lore and sabotage and dodge, things like that can affect your combat or affect your interactions with certain things like scrolls and whatnot. We're going to delve into the next system, which I'm going to speed up because it'll take forever to explain while watching the whole thing. So, on to the next thing, called Conquest, which allows you to create your story. Now, you could hit Quick Start, and what Quick Start will allow you to do is let them do a prefabricated storyline, or you can choose to make it as you go, and I'll show you that right now. Now, if you decided not to pick Conquest, and like I said before, pick Quick Start, we'll just prefabricate the game, and pretty much you don't control how the world interacts with you, things of that nature. If you pick Conquest, what it'll do is give you the 2 residing factions that are controlling the area that you're trying to fight for. Remember now, the backstory of this is, Kairos is a warlord who has conquered all the known land. What you're going to attempt to do, though, is help conquer the last part, which is called the Tiers. Right now, there are 2 residing factions, which I won't tell you who they are. I'll let you find out yourself when you buy the game. But they're trying to vie for control of these 2 of this last area, and you have to decide through your actions of many things. One, how these 2 tiers or these 2 factions are going to be affected by your decisions. Are you going to help one with recruiting troops? Are you going to help another one with poisoning people or robbing villages? Are you going to make so that none of the villagers get harmed and that they will get transferred over to doing something else? It doesn't matter, but basically what you're doing at Conquest is laying out the road work in the map for which how the story and the world's going to treat you. So you have more of a control of how the world's going to interact. When I played my playthrough, after I had decided to do what I did, the first thing right off the bat was they talked about this final area that we conquered, and that how I was well known and renowned because of my way I've interacted with that world, the way my decisions. So Conquest as another facet of control and customization to where the story can go a little bit more the way you want. Granted, that also can backfire because it's not about good and evil really, but about more like conquering and being more of a warlord sort of a sense. So remind you again that the game is heavily focused on your decisions and actions. So be mindful that what you might think is right may not be right at all for you. Alright, so in typical Pillars of Eternity fashion, or Baldur's Gate, if you played that back in the day when you were kids, if you hold spacebar, you can pretty much stop it and make it into almost like real-time turn-based. Okay, so there are different types of stats and things to keep in mind, which we won't really go into right now because it's more of a let's play than a how-to video. But there are different relying factors. There's puncture, there's bludgeon, there's dodge. There's a lot of different aspects to combat that are applied to these games. So really right now this is more of show purposes to give you an idea what the game's about. So if you put your mouse over the person you're fighting, it tells you how's their health. They don't really have a health bar, more they have a status. It'll be like barely injured, injured, close to death, things like that. The other little icons show you what they're strong against, weak against, and the bottom I think the status debuffs. Alright, every person that's in your party that you recruit will have their own set of abilities and powers and attacks that you can utilize and use in the form of combat, power-ups, healing, what have you. Again, for the sake of time, and then this is a let's play, I won't go too far into that because I don't know where the story's taking us because this is my first attempt at playing this. So now you can either hit with the number keys or you can just click right here. Thrust, shield slam, cleave, and stealing shadows. So we'll go with, what's this? The shield slam. So basically you hit the number, then you hit left click, and it'll, boom, activate the empower for you. Alright. Alright, see right there, the yellow shows the area of attack. So you can have friendly fire, so be careful when you attack your opponent. They make sure not to attack your friendlies.
Can't do that. Will do.
Alright, and for your character, for whatever character you choose to fight with, you can have up to like 4 people at a time, I think, in your party. You click each of their little pictures, kind of like Divinity Original Sin 2 has. Right? I explained it to you guys before, where you have little boxes or whatever, and you could choose whoever on the field, and when you choose that person, if you just throw in your party and you're able to, you can look at their stats over here. The same thing as enemies. Each person has a weaknesses, strength, things of that nature. And I think if you go over, you can loot the body when they go like that. Just hit take all. There you go.
Will do.
Like I said before, the game is very heavy story driven, and I will not stay really focused on that part of it because it just, I would not have enough time in the day. Here's another little thing too. At the beginning, when you're creating your character, it'll ask you, you'll have different stats like athletics, I think lore, and things of that nature. It can affect your interaction with the world, kind of like the way Conquest did for you when you created your own story. By picking different stats to work in, like substats like lore and athletics, can affect how you interact with the environment. In this case, I have high enough athletics because of how I built my character that I can just move the boulder. While in this case, I can wedge yourself between the rocks and squeeze through it as quickly as possible. But because I have high enough athletics, I can just choose. Oh, there you go. I had to pause. I can just choose that, and it has that effect.
I got it.
If any of you have ever played Baldur's Gate, this really takes a lot from that. Now, one of the things too is skills have cast times. That's another thing I wanted to say. So just because I hit the attack button doesn't mean it might instantly work. It might take a time for it to charge up. And I had this game set on the easiest settings because I'm not really trying to be a tryhard. So I know some of you are like, I know some of you are gonna be like, John, why you have set on easy? Because I'm all about the story with games like this, and this game can be very heavily story driven. So. Also, if you keep over here on the right-hand side, you'll see, pretty much it shows you what's going on actively in the combat. It gives you a good idea, too, when you're trying to customize your builds with your characters and your groups. It gives you a better understanding who's hitting what and how much damage it's doing. So, if you're really nitpicky about your builds, this is a good reference point.
Sorry, I can't.
Try and catch me, worm. Fake binder. Here at last. Here to join me in putting these cowards out of their misery.
Trouble is afoot.
Alright, so see here? There's your other teammate. You control her at will. They automatically fight teammates will, unless you choose for them not to act on their own. But if you just pause it with the space bar and click how you want them to fight or what powers to use, it gives you better control, better tactical control. But because it's like a really easy first fight, I'm not really worried about it too much. See how she moved on her own? It's as simple as that.
I got it.
I gotta say, graphically, it's really a big step up from Pillars of Eternity, which I'm not surprised because the game did so well, like I said before, the first time. Alright, so.
I can tell you didn't spend the conquest in a diplomat's tent. I'm versed, by the way. But there are more important things to take care of than introductions. Those Vendrian guard we killed didn't come alone.
Okay, so one of the things I want to quickly jump into, is how the chat system works. If you ever played games from BioWare like Knights of the Old Republic, Mass Effect, Dragon Age, where how you interact with the people, what you say can ultimately affect how the game progresses. Again, like how you design Conquest, your actions hold a lot of water. In this particular case, how you interact with people in this game in particular can affect how they treat you, how they trust you. I know for a fact from what they've said that unlike Pillars of Eternity and other games where there's a clear difference of good and evil, here it's not so much that it's good and evil, but moral choices. And just because you're a nice guy doesn't mean the game is going to reward you for being nice. In some cases, people could turn on you, can kill you, could try attempt to kill you, could take from you. So in this game, when you do play it, bear in mind that being the good guy may not always be the good thing to do. Because this game is really focused on war and conquest and the choices that you make. So, in a sense, like this in particular, like we did in the beginning, because I wasn't talking much, I wanted you guys kind of, thought she would talk, the first NPC we run into, but she didn't. But in this case, the highlighted words are very much important words that can affect how the person reacts around you. Like when I was talking to the NPC, and I mentioned Kairos' edict, her reaction changed. So, depending on how you talk, like I said, it can affect the way people interact with you. So why are the Vendrian, so I'll just pick, why are the Vendrian Guard attacking now?
I guess the Vendrian Guard are testing our strength in battle, learning how we perform before they organize a real offensive. That, or they're really, really desperate to get beyond the mountains and couldn't wait until nightfall.
So we'll go with number 4.
Scarlet Fury, one of the elite killers of our ignoble gang. You'll see more than a few of us around camp, but don't let that fool you. We're a rare breed. Most of the soldiers in the Scarlet Course are little more than farmers and children armed with rusted forks. Makes them easier to control. The voices of Narat called his best fighters to this siege. There must be something important about Vendrian's well, though don't ask me what. The Archon isn't in the habit of spilling secrets. Eager. I like that. Before we go, you might search among the remains of our fallen comrades. Wherever they're bound, I doubt they'll miss their boots, much less any rings or any useful iron they might be clutching. No reason to pity the fallen. Before long, we might wish we joined them here. But at least we'll enjoy heavy pockets and warm toes. For the voices of Narat!
Alright, so... yeah, I was going to be like honorable, but like, why should we pillage their bodies? But nah. Because after I just said being a good guy might always be an option. Alright, so... I gotta say, I love what they did with the system. I think they were talking about making a Pillars of Eternity too. So, if they're using this kind of graphic system and this kind of like item system, like all this, I'm really looking forward to it. Alright, so I'm gonna shut up for a sec. So these are your attributes, stuff like that. I'm not really gonna focus too much into that right now. Your quest, your factions, I think, yeah, factions. Cores? Don't care about that. Alright, what was I looking for? Skill? They got a skill tree in this one? Alright, cool. Staggering force causes thrust to it. That's cool though. They got that's neat. They had like a skill system. They didn't have that for like this. Before, Pillars of Eternity had like a really crazy skill system. Like I was lost using that. I'm not gonna lie. Alright, so yeah. See the stats over here like deflection, recovery, and disengagement defense. Deflection is like when you use shields. Recovery, I think, is how long it takes for your skills to cool down and stuff. Hold on, let me see. I think I should tell you. If you right-click it, if you go to compare, here you go. Deflection, when a character is attacked and his hit result has been determined, the target's deflection percentage is checked. Kind of like, remember in Divinity Original Sin 2, I said that certain stats depend on how powerful magic is, or even if a magic hits you. If I think it was magical armor and physical armor, that's kind of the same thing for here. Deflection determines how much either, see what it says right here at the bottom first paragraph, graze can convert to a miss. Recovery the amount of time that a character spends between actions, and equipped armor and weapons have a large effect on recovery. With heavier armor and more damaging weapons, inflicting longer recovery times. There you go. Disengagement defense. Some abilities and items such as boots can grant bonuses to characters' defense against disengagement attacks. When a character is engaged by an enemy and moves away, their disengagement defense provides a bonus to the defense type, parry, endurance, and etc. Where enemies attack to graze or miss. So basically, these type of skills are best used for people with shields and maybe playing defense. Basically, how I would put that. So I'm going to equip this little bastard. Just let me go over here. Alright, cool. Alright, so
I got it.
like I said, there's a plethora of different stats to accumulate, or to, you know, go into. Alright, so I chose to kill them. Well, tomatoes. So here's the thing, though. Had I chosen to like talk them out of it, I guarantee you these guys would still game, and that would have been even bigger shit than me to deal with. So. What the hell is he doing? Oh, that guy got lost there for a second. I was like, dude, right there. Now, this is how you can do this. Watch this. Alright, so if I were to play with her, move her there, and I would move him to the front and have her come back. Because what you want to do when you're playing like this is think tactically smart. Always have your shield guy. Always have anybody who's heavy defensive like my guy is to be the one engaged in shields. Be the one engaged your enemy, sorry, that has the shields up.
You got it. I'm on it. Not a problem, boss.
Right. Will do.
Alright.
On it.
I noticed something too. I didn't think about this. If you notice, guys, it looks really Rome-like. Like the armor stuff looks a lot like Rome. Roman armor, sorry. I just noticed that. Which makes sense because Rome pretty much conquered all the known world at one point or another.
On it.
I'll read this to you. Stow your weapons or we will find out how long a man screamed before hitting the ravine down below. Cornered between a prescriptuous drop and a band of angry soldiers, the Oathbreaker warrior holds a disfavored officer at knife point. Scare him. Worry not, for me, Graven Ash will protect. As his favorite officer winces, blood seeping from the seams of his bracers and curious. You heard the man. He plainly invited you to use that little blade of yours. What are you waiting for? Permission from your pimp? Ha! This blade, with a jerk of the knife, he slices over a clump of Dressy's matted hair. If you're so eager to see your ally dead, just step closer. Alright, so my athletics is fast enough. Attention of the other warriors, you dash forward. He reaches out with his dagger to slay Dressy, but your hand is already on his wrist. With a wrenching twist, you mangle his hand, dropping the dagger harmlessly to the ground. The disfavored warriors rush forward from either side of you. Tyrael barely manages a straining gasp before being hacked and impaled upon their swords and spears. Huh. And also the green get to give you a little back. There's a lot of... Let me reiterate this again. There's a lot of story to these games. Because I know you look at this like, oh my god, it looks horrible. Graphically, it looks a lot better than Pillars of Eternity. But these games are not about the look. It's more of the story. And how you interact with that story. In this case, in this time around, you really do have an impact on the story. So really take time to read and everything. And I'm trying to run through it. And I'm going to end the Let's Play pretty soon. But I just want to give you an idea. Just to tell you guys that. All right.
Right. Can't do that. Interesting.
Yeah, like I said, having good like high athletics or lore can be beneficial because like then I just found a secret little area. try to have a balanced party as well. Like, try to have somebody, if you don't have the whole party good at something, one thing. Have somebody good at lore, somebody good at athletics, so that way you have a very versatile engagement on the environment that you're in, so. Alright. Then we'll stop the video here. It's a brief Let's Play to give you guys an idea of Tyranny, created by Obsidian Entertainment. Leave a link in the description below if you want to try it out. It's for $45 on Steam. It's a hell of a good game. Obsidian already proven their worth in metal by making Pillars of Eternity, which, like I said, was a smash hit. So, like I said, go try it out. Trust me, it's a great buy. It keeps you entertained for hundreds of hours. And, alright, I'll see you guys next time. We're almost to 90 subscribers, guys. We got 9 more to go. Come on, share with your friends, talk about it. Let them know what I'm all about. The closer we get to 90, the closer I get to tell you guys the big surprise. Alright, guys. Love you. Talk to you later. Maximum Force. Flunky Force.